She smiles like a mother, but has destroyed entire civilizations with a single vision. They say Azura is different, that among the Daedric princes, beings of chaos, cruelty, and madness, she is the one who loves mortals. But what kind of love shapes your fate before you're even born? What kind of mercy curses a people for eternity? Azura doesn't demand blood. She whispers, promises. She feeds on hope, and the greatest trick she ever pulled was convincing Tamriel she was a goddess of light. Today, we expose the shadow behind the moon and star. Welcome to Tales of Tamriel. Subscribe, and never miss the truths they tried to hide in starlight. The illusion of choice. Azura is known as the Daedric Prince of Dusk and Dawn. But those are just the moments when the world is neither one thing nor the other. The hour when a blade hidden in sunlight gleams the most. The moment between trust and betrayal. To worship Azura is to live in that tension. To follow her is to surrender not your life, but your future. She is not the Daedra of love, nor is she chaos incarnate. Azura is fate, not the warm fate that shelters the weak, but the cold, indifferent, kind. The one that tells you, this is how your story ends. I have seen it. And worse, she makes you believe that your pain is beautiful, that your suffering was necessary, long before the tribunal ever rose. The Chimera, golden-skinned and full of ambition, followed Azura with the reverence of children. Before their mother, she whispered dreams into their minds, filled their nights with visions and secrets. And in return, they gave her temples, prayers, blood oaths. But the truth was always this: Azura never saw them as free. She saw them as chosen. And to be chosen by Azura is to lose the right to choose. Her prophecies are not gifts. They are declarations. To receive her dream is to be bound to it, to wake each day under the weight of what must be. She told Nerevar of betrayal before it happened. She whispered of Red Mountain before the first stone ever fell. And even when the Chimera tried to carve their own way, even when they turned to the tribunal seeking divinity through mortal will, Azura did not grieve. She condemned. She cursed them. Not just their skin, not just their eyes, but their future. She transformed the Chimera into Dunmer, ash-skinned, red-eyed, exiled from the sun, and cast into a legacy of shame. And why? Because they dared to rewrite the story she had already dreamed. No war, no vengeance, no firestorm. Just a whisper, a curse, and a race forever changed. This is the mercy of Azura. This is the kindness that her cult sings about in poems. There are those who still claim she is different, that her ways are subtle because she seeks to protect, but protection without consent is still a cage. Guidance without question is still control. And fate, when forced, is just another kind of tyranny. Mortals kneel at her shrines hoping to be seen, but they forget. Azura always sees. She sees what you'll become, what you'll lose. And she lets it happen, because she must. Because in her Twilight logic, there is beauty in inevitability. Because to her, the pain you feel was written in the stars, and stars do not weep. What makes her so dangerous is not hatred, it's certainty. Mehrunes Dagon destroys for pleasure. Molag Bal breaks for dominance. But Azura destroys because she believes it's right. Because your sorrow fits the shape of her vision. Because your rebellion must end where her prophecy begins. And what greater cruelty is there than to be told your destiny and to have no power to change it? So ask yourself, if Azura showed you your future, laid it before you like a lover's hand reaching into your chest, would you take it? Would you dare resist, knowing she has already seen how your story ends? Or would you become just another name whispered through her veil of dusk? Another soul trapped in a fate too beautiful to escape? The curse of the Dunmer. There are curses made with fire. There are curses carved in stone, sung through blades, etched into bone. But Azura's curse, it was made of vision and vengeance. When the tribunal betrayed her, when Vivek, Almalexia, and Sotha Sil dared to consume the heart of Lorcan and ascend beyond their station, Azura did not lash out with storms or earthquakes. She did not send Daedric hordes or summon plagues. She did something far worse. She whispered one sentence and rewrote a people. The golden Chimera, radiant under the sky of Resdine, proud and defiant, became the ash-skinned Dunmer overnight. Not in battle, not in war, in a moment. Their skin darkened like the volcanic stone of Red Mountain. Their eyes turned to blood-red flame, not as punishment for their crimes, but as a symbol of Azura's scorn. She didn't just curse the guilty. She cursed every child, every priest, every innocent, every unborn soul that would come after. The curse was not justice, it was inheritance. They say the Daedra do not operate with mortal morality. But this was personal. Azura, the supposed patron of fate and twilight, the mother of prophecy, became the author of racial stigma. And for centuries, the Dunmer bore her mark like a chain around the throat. Outsiders feared them. Empires distrusted them. Even among themselves, the question lingered: are we cursed or chosen? The Dunmer culture evolved under the weight of her wrath. Ash and prophecy became their identity. Pain became heritage. In her temples, the priests still praised her name. They told their children, "She punished us because she loves us," and the lie passed from father to son, mother to daughter, like a second skin. But ask yourself, what kind of love scars the flesh of every descendant? What kind of goddess marks you for what your ancestors did? Azura's followers call it a lesson. But there is no learning without forgiveness, and Azura does not forgive. The tribunal stole divinity. That much is true. But it wasn't only them who suffered. It was an entire race, rebranded under dusk. Some say the curse was fair, that it preserved culture, that it humbled pride. But what kind of humility comes from being hated by the stars themselves? Azura is no stranger to long vengeance. She waited centuries to guide the Nerevarine to Morrowind. And even then, her motives were wrapped in riddles. Was it redemption? Or was she simply setting the board for her next prophecy? This is the nature of her power. She doesn't strike. She defines. To Azura, the Dunmer are not victims. They are a canvas. And her curse is the signature in the corner. She watches them still, from her moonlit realm, her gaze always fixed on the land she reshaped with a single thought. And they continue to worship, not because they are grateful, but because to turn away from Azura is to risk becoming something even worse. Because if she cursed them for betrayal once, who's to say she won't again? In this, we see the terrible paradox. Azura punishes rebellion, but inspires it. She teaches mortals to dream, and then crushes them for dreaming too far. So again, ask yourself, if your ancestors made a mistake, if your bloodline defied a goddess before you were born, would you deserve to live under a curse for the rest of your life? Because that's what Azura believes. And the Dunmer, whether they admit it or not, carry that belief in silence. Not all chains are made of iron. Some are made of skin and flame and memory. The cult of control. Worship. It begins with gratitude. A plea answered. A vision received. A prayer fulfilled. But with Azura, worship is not gratitude. It's dependence. Her followers do not bow out of love. They kneel because they are bound by dreams, by symbols, by the weight of prophecies too large to ignore. Azura does not demand temples of stone. She demands temples of mind, and in those she rules absolutely. Her priests speak in riddles. Her visions come as nightmares wrapped in silk. And the faithful, from Dunmer wise women to stargazing mystics, speak of her like a mother, a protector, even as they tremble in the dark, awaiting her next dream. Because with Azura, there are no accidents, no coincidences. Everything that happens, every death, every war, every birth, was seen, predicted, ordained. This is not faith. This is programming. Her cult spreads quietly, never by force. She doesn't command with fire. She invades with whispers. A dream here, a vision there, a sign in the stars. And soon you believe she's watching you, guiding you, needing you. But Azura never needs you. She needs you to obey. There is a sickness in prophecy. The more you hear it, the more you shape yourself to fulfill it. Until one day, you forget where her voice ends and where your will begins. This is her art, not destruction, but surrender, the slow erosion of choice. Her cult is full of mortals who call her merciful, but none can name a time she offered freedom. Her kindness comes with conditions, and her warnings always come too late to be changed. Those who disobey, they are not destroyed, they are forgotten. Worse, they are rewritten into her myths as villains, as mistakes. The dissenter becomes a symbol. The rebel becomes a lesson. This is how Azura maintains power, not through fear of death, but fear of insignificance. She turns lives into stories, stories into warnings, warnings into doctrine. And before long, a child raised under her gaze knows only one truth: what Azura dreams must be done. This isn't belief, it's indoctrination. And unlike other Daedric cults, hers hides behind beauty. Moonlight, stars, serene altars and gentle words. But what they conceal is control, subtle, elegant, complete. There are no prisons in Azura's cult, because the walls are internal. Her followers chain themselves. They ask not, "What do I want?" but "What did Azura show me?" And if they see a vision of their death, they walk toward it. If they see a vision of betrayal, they act before it happens. If they see war, they prepare, even if peace was possible. Because in her name, the future becomes a script, and mortals become actors in a play they never wrote. Azura doesn't punish disobedience with lightning. She punishes it with silence. The absence of her voice becomes a curse worse than death. To be unseen by Azura is to become nothing, and so they obey, not with joy, not with faith, but with fear that her dream will end and leave them blind. This is the cult, the illusion of devotion, the worship of inevitability. And the price? You may never know what life you could have lived, because you gave it up for a dream. The light in the twilight. There is a moment in every dusk where the sky holds its breath. Not yet night, no longer day. It is the hour of in-betweens. And it is in this fragile balance that Azura reveals her second face. For all her curses, all her veiled control, all the weight of fate she casts upon the living, Azura is also a guardian, not of comfort, not of safety, but of truth. The kind that burns. She was the first to speak against the tribunal, the first to warn of their betrayal. While others bowed to the gods who crowned themselves, Azura whispered of decay long before the cracks appeared. It was her voice, cold and clear, that told Nerevar what the tribunal would do. And it was her will that watched over the Nerevarine, not to punish, but to guide. When the heart of Lorcan corrupted Vardenfell, Azura did not abandon it. She sent dreams, signs, visions cloaked in riddle and starlight. She lit the path not with torches, but with prophecy. When all others turned away from Morrowind, when even the tribunal faltered and vanished, Azura remained. She never sought temples, she never raised armies, but she kept speaking. To dreamers, to mystics, to those willing to listen beneath the noise of the world. And her warnings were never without purpose. The Nerevarine, born under moon and star, was not a puppet. He was a solution. A mortal chosen not for obedience, but for potential. He walked through plague and prophecy, ash and fire, not as a slave to fate, but as a blade tempered by it. Azura watched. She did not interfere. She waited. And in the end, when Dagoth-Ur was defeated, and the heart was unbound, it was Azura who appeared. Not in glory, not in triumph, but in mourning. She did not praise. She did not celebrate. She offered only a warning, that the gods you trusted would fade, and the burden of the world would fall again to mortals. Some saw it as arrogance, but others saw the truth. Azura does not give comfort. She gives clarity. She is the Daedra of endings and beginnings, not because she controls them, but because she stands at the edge of them whispering, "Be ready." There is power in her silence. There is mercy in her distance. Unlike Molag Bal, she does not invade. Unlike Vermina, she does not intoxicate. She simply reveals, and revelation, for those with courage, is salvation. She warned of the fall of the tribunal. She warned of the heart. She warned of the return of Dagoth-Ur. And in all of it, there is one constant. She never forced the hand. Azura's prophecy is not a command, it is a mirror. And what mortals do with it, how they respond, is what defines the future. Perhaps her visions are cruel. Perhaps her guidance feels like a chain. But perhaps that is the nature of truth, to see the storm coming and know you cannot stop it, only survive it. In this, Azura is not tyrant, she is sentinel. And while others forget the mortal world, grow bored of it, or seek only to torment it, Azura stays, watching, waiting, not as queen, but as witness. And in her witnessing, there is something rare among the Daedra care. The Dunmer may be cursed, but they are not forgotten. The Nerevarine may be bound to destiny, but he is not alone. Morrowind may be broken, but it is still hers. In the Twilight, there is pain, but there is also clarity, and sometimes that is more powerful than hope. The protector of mortals. Not all Daedric princes see mortals as tools. Some see them as insects, others as pawns in cosmic games. And then there is Azura. Even in her coldest moments, even when her prophecies sting like thorns beneath the skin, there is a pattern in her madness. She intervenes not for conquest, but for preservation. Where Molag Bal twists mortals for pleasure, and Boethia consumes them in glorious violence, Azura offers something else entirely. A path, narrow, distant, but real. She chooses mortals not to enslave them, but to empower them. It was Azura who foresaw the fall of Vardenfell. Azura who whispered of the blight long before it spread. Azura who placed the star under watch, not as a weapon, but as a tool to hold the soul without suffering. Her artifact, Azura's star, is not a prison. It is a vessel, meant to carry life forward, not trap it in torment. Unlike the black soul gems used by necromancers to torture sentient souls, Azura's star reflects her vision. Power without cruelty, use without desecration, and still, she is feared, because what she offers is not safety, but truth. And truth, to those who serve false gods, is the deepest kind of threat. When others abandoned Nirn to chaos, when the Daedric realms spilled into Tamriel, when oblivion gates tore through the land, Azura stood apart. She did not unleash armies. She did not invade. She simply warned, and those who listened survived. In this way, Azura becomes something more than Daedra, not divine, not mortal, but a force of balance in a world teetering between madness and meaning. She appears to those on the brink, to mortals facing extinction, collapse, or transformation. And always, her presence signals one thing: there is still a way forward. She does not demand loyalty. She does not promise victory, but she offers clarity in chaos. And for many, that is salvation. There are legends scattered in ruins and dreams of mortals who followed Azura's path through darkness and emerged not unscathed, but alive. Not unchanged, but whole. She offers no comfort, but she offers a light. And in a world where Daedra rend flesh and gods forget their oaths, that light is more than rare. It is sacred. The Dunmer, for all their suffering, are not forsaken. Azura's gaze lingers still in their traditions, their visions, their stars. Her priests do not summon flame. They interpret dreams. They do not sacrifice for power. They prepare mortals for what must come. There is danger in her certainty. Yes, but also protection. Because a world without prophecy is a world without preparation. And Azura, in all her distant mercy, gives mortals the one thing no god, Adra or Daedra, can truly offer: a warning, a chance to see the edge before falling. In the bones of old Velothi shrines, in the whispers of seers, in the star-marked birth of chosen souls, Azura does not command, she waits. And when the world turns too far toward madness, she steps from the shadow of Twilight and says what no one else will: you are not ready, but you must act. In this, she becomes something else, not tyrant, not savior, but guardian, cold, distant, inescapable, but never cruel for cruelty's sake, because in her visions there is purpose. In her warnings, protection, and in her silence, a space for mortals to choose. Not all chains are meant to bind, some are meant to hold a world together, if only for a moment longer. Azura never asked to be worshipped. She doesn't seduce with beauty or tempt with power. She speaks in visions. She acts in silence. And when she marks you, your life is never yours again. Some say she is the last Daedra who still cares. Others believe she is the most dangerous of them all, not because she destroys, but because she guides, because she gives you a glimpse of your destiny and dares you to walk away from it. But is that cruelty or mercy? She cursed the Chimera into the Dunmer, yet stayed when every other god vanished. She bound Nerevarine to prophecy, yet never forced his hand. She controls nothing, and yet she shapes everything. So what is she? A tyrant cloaked in starlight? Mother watching the world crumble from a distance? Or a necessary shadow in a world where even the gods are flawed? Whatever you believe, one truth remains: Azura is not the kind of Daedra you love. She is the kind you obey, even when you don't want to. Now tell me, is she salvation or just another divine lie? You decide. Let the war begin. In the comments.